Okay, Reggie, did you see that Napoleon is doing an interview over at Camp Capone, and he mentioned that after everything happened with Tupac's death and all that stuff, that they reached out, or maybe even him himself, Mutal, reached out to you guys and asked to come back, that they wanted to work on Death Row. Did you see that, and do you have a reaction to those statements?
And eventually we wanted to get back in the music industry. So the only people that we was familiar with was Suge and them. So we called, I believe I spoke to Reggie or Suge brother-in-law. I'm like, look, we ready to come back. We ready to work. And they was like, y'all want to be on Death Row? I think they was a little shocked. It might have been Reggie or one of them might. And I was like, yeah, tell Suge. Suge was locked up at this time that, yeah, we want to come back and we want to work. And that's how we was able to get that contract and started working with Death Row. But it didn't work out, because Suge never released the album. And I think he wanted to buy a publishing and we didn't agree with it, like something like that. And then after that, it's like it felt like they were shelving, like just put us on the shelf and it wasn't no movement, even though we had access to the studio or whatever we wanted to, but it wasn't nothing, like we didn't see nothing else coming after that. So eventually we went to court, got released from Death Row.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So what had happened was, and shout out Napoleon. Tell you, I always like Napoleon. He does a great job. I hate that narrative is out there about him and the Gaddafi with the mother and all of that. Because I really, really believe that Napoleon did the right thing by getting his cousin to turn himself in. But we'll leave that for another day. Because I know a lot of y'all get get confused on that situation and really think that he betrayed the Gaddafi. Mutal and them, they reached out and they wanted to come back on death row. And so they reached out and I went to talk to Suge and Suge said, yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's get them back. So we put them in this nice house in Tarzana. And they came out with Edie Cousin, who was kind of managing him at the time. His name was Big G, a cool dude. Always like Big G. And they came out and that's when, like I said, we signed them. I remember we gave each one of them $25,000 and we signed them to a deal. Put them in the studio and they went and did stuff, but I don't know. I guess we was all hating on them or whatever because we didn't like anything that they were presenting to us. And that's when I get the situation where Edie even talk about how Suge wanted to publish it. They keep thinking it was about the publishing. I heard when Napoleon in the interview y'all just heard that he still thought it was about a publishing deal. And Edie had pretty much told me, or not he had told us, but he did an interview where he kind of thanked me for not forcing him to sign the publishing deal. And so it wasn't about the publishing deal, y'all. They mistaken that was an issue. Of course, Suge was mad that they didn't want to sign the publishing deal and all that. And that probably was a reason that we really didn't push them, or we had a sour taste in our mouth with them. But, we were still messing with them. The main reason, the one thing that came up, was I couldn't find nowhere for them to stay no more and had to send them back because, man, I said I never seen a white man cry. And the owner of that house in Tarzana called me over there. And I went down there and saw that house. Oh my God. They had dog shit all over the place and everything. They had dog. I mean, this was a house that was back then worth probably $800,000 in the 90s. So you can imagine what the house is worth now. And it was a nice house in Tarzana. I remember I got a bill from the man where I had to pay him $36,000 on top of the deposit that we had already left him just to get the house back into decent shape. So anyway, but the main reason, y'all, that and y'all gonna say, damn, that was the reason. The main reason that we fell out with the Outlaws was because y'all know who was my star, right? Everybody know who I was pushing, right? The Realest and Top Dog. We wanted them to go on the road and promote things, promote Still I Rise album, promote whatever new stuff with the Realest. And the Realest gonna be like the Tupac, and they were gonna be like the Outlaws. And shout out to them. I get it now. They hated that idea. And they damn near they went crazy. They wanted no parts of the Realest in the 90s, the late 90s. Wanted no part of it.
Reggie, I hate to interrupt you, but for all of our listeners out there that may be small business owners, I think this might be a good thing for them. There's 36 million small businesses across the US, and more than 70% of them need additional funding at least once a year. Traditional banks, we know the headache they can be, the paperwork, the long waiting, the credit decisions, all that stuff. And usually it's months until you find out whether you are or aren't approved. But that's where the sponsor of today's video comes in. If your business makes at least $25K a month, Delta Capital will offer you business funding with an application that takes under 5 minutes. There's zero impact to your personal credit, and approvals happen in minutes and not months. So do yourself a favor. If you're a small business owner and you're looking for funding to maybe reinvest into the company, hire new people, upgrade your equipment, whatever the case may be, click the link in the description or in the comment pinned and see if you qualify for same-day business funding of up to $500,000 from Delta Capital. Reggie, back to you.
Man, yeah, John, that is a great promotion. You just acknowledge, you just came up with. I hope people with businesses sign up for that. But y'all still can go on the comment sections for the Under Armour and the YouTube stuff and go to no videos and sign up for those. Y'all can still go and sign up for those programs as well. They're pinned in the comment section as well. So back to the story or the video for today. So the main reason, John, to answer your question is, do remember it, but where we did fall out with them is because they did not want to work with the Realest, do songs with the Realest. We thought that would have been a great marketing tool, mainly for just doing shows and stuff like that, but they wanted no part of that. However, it's funny how times change, because later on in life, which y'all got to know the Realest. The Realest is a cool dude. Everybody liked the Realest. Once y'all get to know him, y'all would like him as well. They started doing shows with the Realest. How that came up, I don't know, because I wasn't around when they started messing tough with the Realest. But still to this day, Edie and the Realest have a great relationship. But one thing that I can always say is I always have respect for Napoleon, because y'all know when he went over to Koch Entertainment, Napoleon never get credit for it. But he's actually the one that called me and was like, "Hey, Rich, Koch Entertainment wanna do business with y'all. They want me to give you give you their number." And I told Napoleon, I said, "Hey, give them my number," because all I knew of them, I saw that they had a big album or a big song on TV with the Yin Yang Twins, and then the little album that they had with the Outlawz. And that's when I negotiated that hell of a deal with Koch, not Shug, Reggie motherfucking right there, where got Shug 5% override on any urban act that came out of Koch from then on, and gave us a $3 million advance to distribute our catalog, and they had first right of refusal to put out any frontline albums that we did. Now, y'all, that was like in 2001 when that deal happened. Well, Suge didn't understand the independent game. He was used to being involved with places like Interscope or even like a Priority, where he thought they were going to be giving him $1 million advances and $1 million videos. And Koch wasn't like that, and they wasn't about that. And that's why Suge never really put out any albums over there with Koch, other than, I believe, the Corrupt album that he did. And I think one of those new mix classics or something like that. But I was going by that time that he did with Koch. I know they did that soundtrack, the Eddie Griffin movie soundtrack and stuff like that. But he never really wanted to do anything because he had artists that could have did it. He had a great album he could have put out on Crooked Eye. He had stuff with Nina. And then he also had some stuff with, or he had a hell of a compilation that we worked on when he first got out of prison. That I remember with my boy Jay Valentine and his little brother Bobby Valentine, which we call PB. Eastwood, Crooked Eye, Left Eye. And I think even Spider Loc. I'm not sure if Spider Loc ever did anything. I know he was around and people like that. So, yeah, that's what happened with the Outlawz. We just didn't feel the Outlawz. I didn't think we dropped the ball on the Outlawz, but it wasn't mainly because of the publishing deal, which was a issue, but not a major issue. It was mainly because they didn't want to tour or do anything with the realists. And they might have been right. Because that reason, but the main reason is that people wasn't feeling Death Row. Y'all know why. Because y'all thought Tupac was stolen from by Death Row. And that's what I always say was our biggest mistake. By not, once we got everything worked out with Afeni Shakur and the estate, not doing something publicly, letting the fans know that everything was back to all good. Bomb first. Hope y'all take advantage of that new program for those of y'all that have businesses, because I'm here. They're gonna be approving a bunch of loans. Make sure y'all shoot me my commission when y'all get the loans. Peace.